For 3 weeks, Ohio State players and coaches heard criticism about the outcome of the Michigan game. And on Saturday night, they used that criticism as fuel to thump the Volunteers.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Victory Monday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel because the NFL playoffs are almost here. But it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Simply visit FanDuel.com to get started. During today's show, we will dive into the stars of the Buckeyes' victory over Tennessee, as well as what Ryan Day did Saturday night in Columbus, Ohio. But before we get to any of that, joining us for the entirety of today's show, he was with us for the Buckeyes squad show Saturday night after the game, and he's back with us here on a Victory Monday. It's my guy, it's your guy, it's Jeff Hunt from the Off the Ball Network, Ohio State analyst, as we introed him in of the show Saturday night. And Jeff, one thing we both do, we are very critical analysts, and we don't shy away from that. We criticize the Buckeyes for how they played against Michigan. We criticize the coaches for the game plan in that game. We've criticized Ohio State all season long for not maximizing the talent that is on the roster. Well, Saturday night, they heard that criticism. They felt that criticism. They even got a little emotional with that criticism being in their mind. But they used that as fuel, Jeff, to thump Tennessee on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was really impressive, Jay. And that was what stood out, was like, as I watched the game, and you just said it all there, how fans like, you and I watched this game. It was like everything they did, especially that first quarter. Let's talk about it. It was just one of the greatest. I mean this. I'm 50 years old. People can argue with me. One of the great first quarters in the history of Ohio State football. And what they did was everything that we said they needed to do.
Correct.
They're like, why are they not throwing, like, for 3 weeks? Why are they not throwing to the wide receivers more? Why are they running up the middle? Why are they why are they not spreading things out? Why is Howard not running? They checked all the boxes. They took deep shots, with Jeremiah Smith. They got outside, with the running backs. They got Henderson loose and got him in some space. And it was just a impressive, clinic in what a coaching staff, as hard as we are in the coaching staff, Jay, me and you have sat here and done several shows about, hiring, firing, and mistakes and all that. What an impressive job that they did. Apparently, as soon as the Michigan game was over, they moved on to the next phase. And what did we say a couple weeks ago? The one thing I said was Ohio State cannot let Michigan beat them twice, and they sure didn't. They clearly got past it. They clearly have a bigger goal, and they clearly understood the assignment. And what a great. We've never come up with a word for this, but what a great job by the players to accept the coaching and execute the game plan. Just a really nice job, top to bottom by this Ohio State squad.
It's insane that we're saying this about Game 13. That this is the first time. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just reality.
Yeah.
This is the first time I felt like all year they've maximized all the talent, all the elite talent, from Tuimoloau, who, Jeff, you've been very critical of, and from Travion Henderson to Will Howard to fill in the blank player on the team. That's our starter. It seemed like this is the first time all year that they maximized all the talent. And to me, if that's the first time, cool. I'm not here to knock you for it being done, but I'm also here to praise you for that, but also do that against Oregon. We got a week and a half, buddy, to break down the Oregon game and the rematch and the highs and the lows. And really, once again, we're going to go into that game. Buckeyes O-line versus Oregon's D-line. We saw what the Buckeyes O-line did against Tennessee.
Ooh.
Oregon's D-line is better. So I'm not here to say, like, which team is going to have the upper hand there, but they maximize that talent. And I think, to me, that's one of the biggest check marks that you have right now. What did Ohio State do against Tennessee that they really didn't do all season long? They maximized the talent.
Yeah.
We saw with Will Howard early in the game. We saw it with them even moving guys around on the offensive line. We saw them doing stuff with Tyleik Williams that we really hadn't seen at all, but also it was well timed because I said it early. I don't know if it came on the squad show or not, Jeff. There were numerous times in the first quarter, Tyleik Williams at the snap of the ball, he would go inside and then loop around the crashing in. The in crashed in. Tyleik went around. I don't remember how many times we saw that, but also the secondary was so well, playing so great.
Yeah.
Coverage. It allowed Tyleik Williams, big self, to get around the end and to get pressure on the quarterback. So one, credit to Knowles for calling it. Credit for the DBs for holding up in coverage. For credit for Tyleik to realize we got to lay it all on the line and do whatever it takes to win this game. And this is the kind of stuff that Ohio State can build upon going up against Oregon, because Ryan Day said we got to do whatever it takes to win this game. And, Jeff, they did that. So here we are on a Victory Monday, not ripping Ohio State for what they did do. We're praising them because they finally did what they're supposed to do.
Yeah. No, it was great. And you touched on it. What I thought the coaches did a great job at, and this has been our biggest complaint, is I don't know how many times we've sat here and said, like, well, if I could see it, you could see it, we could all see it. Why didn't you? No, they made all the adjustments that we talked about. Knowles did not overthink this game. He let it, especially his safeties. Let's shout out Lathan Ransom. Great game. But he let his safety, he played, basically what was called cover 2, cover 4, however you want to call it, umbrella, whatever anybody wants to say. Basically, you're just dropping back in zone. He trusted his defensive backs. He trusted his safeties. And then basically the biggest difference in this Ohio State team, and I say that is like this felt like a different team than we've saw in maybe 3 years. They got pressure with 4.
Yeah.
And if Ohio State can get pressure with 4, with their defensive backfield, it's a wrap. And it was. And I said that, I don't know how many times during that game, I looked at my wife, and too many times she would tell you I yelled at her. I'm like, if we can pressure with 4 all game, there is no chance to beat this Ohio State squad. And they did. Knowles, like I say, Knowles didn't get every now and then, like when he started, there was even a couple plays where JTT in coverage actually worked, which that's not going to work against Oregon. I just want to put that out there. I hope that they don't think that it worked last night. That's great. It will not work against Oregon. He still isn't that guy. I don't mind the play calls, but it's not going to work. Sawyer has been on a mission for 12, 13 months. He's been the most consistent, hardest working player on the defense. But I just admired that they trusted everything. From top to bottom. They trusted Howard to take the deep shot when he needed to. He threw 4, like I think I saw the stats. He threw 4 out of 5, 20-yard plus attempts, completed them. That was the difference in the game. On defense, they trusted the coverage. They trusted the defensive backs, and the defensive line got home. It was just like they didn't overcomplicate. They didn't overcoach this game. As we sat here and just praised the coaching for 10 minutes, but what they really didn't do was overcoached it. They told these guys, like, you've played football, your entire life. You've got to Ohio State for a reason. You've reached this level of, success for a reason. Just go out and play natural. And boy, did it show up.
Man, it showed up in a big way. And coming up after the break, we're going to dive into more of the coaching and Ryan Day. And one thing Ryan Day did Saturday night, other than win that game, is something very, very important for people in Columbus. We'll dive into that next. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Rocket Money. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was paying for, and Rocket Money made it so easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending. It helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in cancel subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thank y'all for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. One thing Jeff said before the show started, when I normally don't try to pull things in from the pre-show conversation, but Jeff said Ryan Day made the sun come out in Columbus. And I think that's true because, Jeff, I'm not there. I'm going to take your word for it. But even from myself, knowing how Ohio State fans are, I myself went into that game nervous. Not because I didn't think Ohio State was a more talented team or wasn't a more talented team. They were the more talented team. I was nervous because I didn't know what Ohio State team was going to show up. I didn't know what coaching staff was going to show up. I didn't know how things are going to go. And knowing how that scene was last night in the shoe, and even afterwards, you talk while you watch the Skycast. I watched part of the Skycast before this show. Take the broadcast away. You can hear on the Skycast broadcast how loud the stadium is, and you can even hear the roar of the crowd when Jeremiah Smith caught that first touchdown. Ohio State fans were thirsty. They were frustrated. They were annoyed with some of the things that happened with the coaching staff. Looking at Ryan Day, you got a 4-game losing streak to that team up north. People are going to be frustrated. You open up with the first playoff game in Ohio Stadium in that way, the sun's going to come out even at midnight.
No, it was fantastic. Like there really is something to that because, again, it's a tangible thing. Like what makes this Ohio State program go is it's not just the size of the fan base. It's not just, the commitment, but it's also like the money. That's a real thing. It's also like the support and all that. And we really do care. Yes, 100%. We all care way too much about this team. The way we live and die by it is not a healthy thing, but it's a real thing. I keep trying to explain to everybody. It's something that, like, Jay, you weren't born with it, but Correct. Your son has been born with it.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like, and we are literally, we're tied to this team. It means more to us. So the last 3 weeks of like insults, and honestly, the last year of insulting the stadium, like, oh, you guys don't look like Alabama does at night. You guys don't look like Tennessee does at night. All these things, like, these are insults to like a core foundation of beliefs, a belief system that we have. Whether it's crazy or not, doesn't matter. It's real. And I thought another thing last night was like the shoe showed up, the fans showed up. And I, we talked about it on the squad show. I'm 100% glad that Tennessee fans traveled up. Like, that's what makes college football great. Like, I love that they quote unquote, invaded Columbus. The stadium might've been 20% Volunteers fans, but I think that made it a better game. And I'm glad they got to experience, like, yeah, you guys down in Neyland and what you do in Knoxville is really cool. I've seen it firsthand, but like, you just assume because you watch these noon games, especially the noon games on a certain network. I'm not going to insult. We did enough of that last night. I don't know what the connections are to Locked On, but sometimes the noon games can come off a little boring and come off a little, mundane. I was like, last night, I think the country got to see what us as Ohio State fans, live by and know that is there. And yeah, this morning, we get up, it's cold, the sun's shining bright, everybody's in a better mood. Everybody I saw today is wearing Buckeye gear. Random people are giving you go Bucks and high fives, and whether it's crazy or not, it's a real thing. And like, I said on the show last night, we get 10 days to enjoy this. And yes, we know the next game is the end of the world, but it was a lot of fun. I was really proud. Here's what I'd say. I was proud of the show that Ohio State put on last night. I really was.
And I think fans should be proud of that too. I think Ryan Day should be proud of the work that him and the coaches put in. Like, let's just take ourselves out of it, Jeff. Take the players out of it. Ryan Day's been put in a really weird spotlight that most people couldn't handle. The man literally said losing to Michigan is up there with some of the worst tragedies in his lifetime. Yeah. And so when you put that all into perspective, Ryan Day for 3 weeks had to hear his boss give him a vote of confidence multiple times to reputable media companies. At the same time, people are saying he needs to lose his job. Right after he lost to Michigan for the 4th time in a row, something that hadn't been done for decades. So Ryan Day right now is in a spotlight. Yeah, you got hired to be the Ohio State head coach. You know what kind of criticism you're going to get. You also realize you're under a microscope. Kalen DeBoer is not under this microscope. Steve Sarkisian is not under the same microscope. No. Kirby Smart, Georgia Tech is nowhere close to being what Ohio State, Michigan is. Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley out there at USC, not under the same microscope. Ryan Day is under a certain level of scrutiny every single day because he wears that block on his chest and he is the final authority for the program. Ryan Day took all of that, and when I saw that man smile at the end, right by Jack Sawyer, that made me happy, man. Because we've been critical for him for a long time. That's our job, though. But also when that man that we are very critical of smiles after such a massive performance, such a massive game plan, such a massive few weeks of preparation, I'm going to praise him for that, man, because he got the job done.
Yeah, 100%. I said that last night. I was like, as hard as I've been on Ryan Day, as hard as the community's been on him. And again, but Ryan Day also is the first one to tell you, like, he sticks his chin out there and does the interviews. They ask him straight up, like, hey, everybody in the state, wants your job. And he's like, I get it. You know what I mean? Like, I understand the situation I'm in. He's an Ohio guy. Like, Ryan Day has kids going to school in Ohio that like play sports, like out in the public. Like I've got friends that have bumped into Ryan Day at sporting events. I mean, like this guy is part of our community, part of our world. And he took all the criticism and the way that he let let's face it, the best thing that happened as far as last night's game was losing to Michigan, because that was a situation to where Ryan Day was like, we all screwed up. We tried to do this one way. We tried to we tried to run it down Michigan's throat and prove a point. We screwed up. But the fact that he recognized that and his coaching staff is like, let's move on. Let's forget about the criticism. Like last night, they could have came out and been like, let's play safe and win that game by 7 points. But no, they played their football. So like, credit to everybody for like realizing the situation. And I always say this, like the same side of the coin that's like, you guys are crazy the way you treat Ryan Day. That's the reason Ryan Day has the funds and the support to build a team like this. So like Ryan Day knows the deal. Like he understands that the same millions of crazy fans calling for his job are the reason that Judkins is there, are the reason that Caleb Downs is there, are the reason he handpicked Will Howard. Shout out to that. I don't know if we've talked enough about what a correct decision that was, taking Will Howard. So like he understands both sides of the coins, and this is just the way it is. Do I think a lot of it's unfair and a lot of it's rude? And absolutely. I'm as guilty of as anybody. But guess what? It's going to happen again because again, like everything I said, like, that's how much this team means to us. And that's the job. But also the upsides of the job is like, you get to coach one of the truly great sports franchises in the history of time. Like nobody gets the job coaching the Boston Celtics and is like, nah, it's too much. Like, no, it's just one of those things. But you said it best. Full credit to Ryan Day. Congratulations. You shut a lot of people up. But you know what? He never throws that back in people's faces. He is always positive. He's always like, he's always like, I hear you. I'm trying. Like it's always like he's talking to me. So I love the guy's personality. I honestly love everything about it except for the big game record. And last night, he took a step in the right direction.
He definitely did. And Jeff made a comment about a certain player that Ryan Day decided to bring to Columbus for this special year. And something tells me one of us might pick that player as one of the stars for the game for the Buckeyes' victory over Tennessee. We'll dive into our stars of the game next. This episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book because right now new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It's thrilling. Simply visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thank y'all for tapping into Locked On Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. Jeff, normally I'm trying to get out in front on this one, but I'm going to give you the floor first. Who is your first star of the game for the Buckeyes victory Saturday night?
My actual first star of the game is actually Jack Sawyer. This guy is a different type of defensive end. He's kind of a throwback, but the way that he not only the way he determined protections, the way he collapses the pocket, he made Nico nervous all night. I said during the game, I'm like, even though Nico was breaking free on some runs and stuff, it was early in the game, and I was like, if the quarterback is the leading rusher tonight, Ohio State's going to win, and that's exactly what Ohio State did. Sawyer was just collapsing the right side of that Tennessee line. He got there a couple times. He got home, but it was just like but I think also like from what I hear, his passion, his leadership, his drive. You can say what you want. You can have the conversation about the flag gate all you want, but Jack Sawyer in those 3 minutes after the Ohio State Michigan game set the precedence for these 3 weeks of practice of being like, this is, how I feel, really wearing his heart on his sleeve. We've been critical of him. He hasn't achieved the level of greatness that we expected out of a number one talent. But what he has done is achieved, I think he's really close to his ceiling. I don't think he's an underachiever. He's an underachiever as far as like, if you thought he was going to be, I don't know, Nick Bosa, in the NFL. He's not an underachiever as far as exceeding talent level, doing his job. And last night, like he looked great. He really affected that game. His hands were in the air a lot. He was around the quarterback a lot. He made everything uncomfortable. And I think just the toughness and the passion, the precedence. Jack Sawyer is definitely one of my stars of the game last night.
So I was planning on going offense first, but I can't because the defense played out of their
so
mind.
Good. Good.
I'm going to go with his running mate, his partner on the other side of the defensive line, and JT Tuimoloau.
Yes.
A guy that I think, Jeff, you may have made a comment about that may have been his best game since the Penn State game a couple years ago.
100%.
And it has to be up there in the running. I'm not going to say it is or it was not because I can't remember all those games. But he was a guy that Tennessee didn't have an answer for.
Yeah.
They didn't have an answer for Jack Sawyer either. But Tuimoloau is a guy. He's a little bit more athletic.
Yeah.
He's a little bit bendier. He's more flexible. They put him out to spy a little bit. And all he did, even in a spy, he's not the best spy in the world. He did his job, and he's chased and he found a path to Nico. And he is a guy that over the next few weeks is going to be needed for Ohio State to accomplish the goal of winning a national championship. But before they get to the Rose Bowl even, they had to get past Tennessee. And Tuimoloau showed up and showed out. And a lot of the times his presence isn't seen in the box score. Saturday, his presence was seen in the box score. I think he had 8 tackles. I don't know his other numbers. But, man.
Great tip pass in there.
Tip pass.
A great deflection.
Part of the reasons Hylick Williams was able to be so effective on those loop arounds because JT crashed in, took out 2, maybe 3 guys, crashed in so hard. And so we can praise Jack. We can praise JT. Praise Caleb Downs, Lathan Ransom. I mean, we can praise all the guys on defense.
Lathan Ransom was a monster last night.
Go for it, Jeff. I mean, if you want to make him your next one, I don't know. But, like, Tuimoloau is my first guy. It's like, who gets a star? Who gets his Buckeye sticker? It has to be JT.
Oh, yeah. I definitely give Ransom a Buckeye. And his recognition, he's been great all year. By the way, he's just a really, really, really good football player. But
real quick, is he sneakily a first-round pick? Because he's gone under the radar his entire career, had multiple season-ending injuries. He might be a guy that if he checks off the medicals, he might be a first-round pick.
So I'll say I'll change the conversation and say I think he's one of the top safeties on the board, just because I don't know I don't know how high safeties are going to go,
right.
but I bet he's right up there with the top safeties on the board. And especially because of last night. I said this a lot about a lot of players last night. I was like, Will Howard, Ransom, JTT, Sawyer, they made so much money last night. Because if you're an NFL scout, you're like, that's what we went. Ransom's recognition and response last night to like, especially like the way he recognized like the screens behind, and got there behind the line of scrimmage and attacked and didn't hesitate and was also there in coverage. Like what he and Downs did last night really was just absolutely. So what Nico wants to do is take the first read and he wants to hit a guy that runs up the seam or gets those guys had him completely baffled. When you see a quarterback in a system, like Tennessee runs, tuck it and run up the middle, and everybody gets frustrated because he gets 8 yards or he gets 11 yards. That's because nothing's there. And so again, I watched, that's why I watched the Skycast version of it. When those safeties were fantastic. I recommend anybody that has a chance, if they can find it, go back and watch that Skycast version and really see what the safeties, the Ohio State safeties did last night. And Ransom, like the way he was attacking the backfield, no hesitation, it was fantastic. Like it really was like again, we're beating a dead horse here, but just the first time that we saw this team play to their ability. They weren't overthinking anything. Everything built to this moment. Ransom's a fantastic football player. Like he's going to be a solid NFL player because he's so smart. He gets it. He disguises coverages. Him and Downs together are like, it's one of the best safety duos, in Ohio State history. They're up there with the level of like Mike Doss, when he was there, like that's thrown out high praise, but just a unbelievable night for Ransom. And especially when you turn those, we're so used to a team running like a screenplay or something and getting 10 yards. And we're so frustrated on like third down. No, Ransom just nipped it in the bud. Like, nope, you're not going anywhere. We heard for, 2 weeks about like, what Samson was going to do against Ohio State and all that. Nothing. Running backs did nothing. The quarterback had 100 yards passing total. Just a fantastic night. But Downs did what Downs does. The reason we don't talk about Downs is because he's so good that you're like, just wherever two's at, just look the other way. He was like Nico was never looking Downs way. And Ransom just like, man, what a way to play run support. What a way to play coverage. Just a great night.
Last thing here, I'll make this quick, Jeff, and then I want to hear your quick thoughts on this guy too. Will Howard, you made a comment about Ryan Day got the right guy for the job. We were critical of McCord in 2023. I'm critical of Howard sometimes in 2024.
Sure.
There is no question in my mind that he was the right guy for the job this year. Will Howard's performance on Saturday was the best performance he's had in the Buckeye uniform.
Yes.
He was dialed in. He was locked in. And when I went back and watched part of the Skycast, he was seeing so many things pre-snap. Jeremiah Smith touchdown. Emeka Buka, that long pass to down to the 2 or the 1 yard line. The Emeka Buka drop. He is seeing so many things pre-snap, pointing it out, quickly checking to the right thing, getting back to his spot and shotgun and rolling. That's a seasoned vet that we're seeing right here before our eyes. And he's, I got that guy. Where we're questioning if he can read sometimes or if he can see things properly. He does. He absolutely does. He had the preparation, and it showed up in a big way on Saturday night.
You know what really showed up, and this is what Will Howard did. This was the difference in the game, as opposed to the last game that we have to move. He played with his eyes up, Jay. That's when I knew that Tennessee was in trouble. When they snapped the ball, and Will Howard, as soon as he took the snap, which again, he's getting used to a new center. Let's forget that the best center in the country hasn't been available for Ohio State for a few weeks. When Will Howard took the snap, his eyes were up the entire time, looking downfield, complete complete confidence in his, rebuilt offensive line. That is hard for a quarterback. He doesn't, we saw the other side of the ball. Like we saw a kid that was scared every time, that the ball got to him. Howard played, he played with his eyes up, his shoulders up, made the great throws when they were there, trusted his receivers, and just, you're right. And then, but again, like just to real quick to give, we'll talk about Will Howard here. He showed up in the Iowa game. Remember, that was supposed to be a tough one too.
Yeah.
Great throws in the Iowa game, great throws in the Oregon game, great plays outside of one fumble, played great, pretty good in the Penn State game. Like this guy, every game that mattered except for one really showed up. We'll never know what happened. November 30th, 2024. We'll never know what caused everything to go wrong. And there's nothing you can say except for everybody played bad. But other than that, like the games that mattered, like he made the throws and like he started taking some slings and arrows, late in the season. Like, oh, he can't throw the deep ball. He can't. I'm telling you, everybody go watch the second touchdown from the Skycam viewpoint and see what a great throw. G. Scott, like we talked about G. Scott Jr. Like what a great, like a couple, 2 or 3, plays from him, and then what they did with the tight ends and Howard dropping it in, into buckets for Egbuka and Scott, and just on and on and on, making the right read and the right throw, and then running when he needed to and getting the first downs. Like it was just, like on and on and on. What a great game. What a fantastic game. And, for Will Howard to like basically sign his name into, this game would have determined whether Will Howard was a legend or forgotten in Ohio State history. And he signed the board. Like we'll never forget, Will Howard. He's up there with Krenzel and all the other guys, who were kind of like, one and dones or whatever you want to call it. So just a great job by him. Great job by the entire team. I don't know if anybody played bad last night. I'm being serious about that. It was amazing.
I appreciate my guy Jeff Hunt coming on the show here on a Victory Monday. He was with us for the Buckeye Squad show after the victory over Tennessee. That was something special we did for the playoff. It was myself, it was Jeff, and then Spencer McLaughlin of Locked On College Football. We did an hour-long show, different than normal. Normally it's Jay Solo for 30 minutes. I did an hour-long show. It's right there on YouTube and on the Locked On Buckeyes audio podcast feed. Go check that out. We're going to have another one. Spencer won't be with us for that one. We might be able to get Barrett Salee on that show after the Rose Bowl. And so it'll be another little special show that we're going to be just instant reacting. As soon as the game's over, we're live on YouTube dissecting what happened on the field. Talk about Fox, talk about ESPN this past game, talk about Will Howard, talk about a lot of stuff. There's so much stuff going on, man. I really appreciate it. Jeff, follow him on Twitter at jhunt006. Follow me on the same platform at jsteven07. We're up out of here on a Monday. There will be a show Tuesday. We're not ditching Tuesday on Christmas Eve. There will be a show on Tuesday. It might come out later than normal. That's all I'll say about Tuesday's show. We'll see you next time.